The first reason is the opportunity. I mean, we see more and more women wanting to be financially empowered and more women becoming financially empowered. And by the way, their earning power has risen dramatically. And at the same time, their wealth, it's about $14 trillion of wealth for women. So it's a real opportunity. But second, women tell us that they're pretty dissatisfied with the financial services industry. They feel like there's this misalignment. They use words like very male-oriented, and that they do not let women into the conversation at all. I mean, they say things that make you realize that they feel that the financial services industry defers to men's life path, men's life expectancy, career path, and their needs and expectations. And this has got to change. If you were to think back to the 1950s, what you would begin to realize is that most women, their main domain was house and home. Sure, there were some women who worked, but it was really unusual. But what we've seen happen since the 1950s, and by the way, the boomer generation was that first generation of women to en masse go on to college and gain the skills and expertise that allowed them to enter the workforce, so that today, what we see is pretty amazing. We see that there's been this kind of flip-flop when it comes to education. We see women gaining more education than men. They graduate from college and grad school in higher numbers than men. And that gives them the skills to go on to become business leaders, to become doctors, lawyers, educators, to take part in the economy and in large companies in ways that they never did before. So many people ask the question, so what's the problem? Why aren't women becoming more financially empowered? Now, of course, my first answer is, yeah, more and more women are becoming financially empowered, and that's the good news. But what's holding us back? And what we discovered was there were several reasons. One is women themselves. Like it or not, we're partly responsible, and that responsibility shows up in some very subtle ways. For instance, there seems to be a kind of social taboo about talking about money-related issues. What we found in our study was that women were far more willing to talk about their own death than talk about money. Now, that seems kind of crazy to me. We need to open up the conversation. So women are somewhat responsible. Second, we found that women's media actually plays a role. As part of our study, we looked at women's magazines, the top 17 women's magazines, and we looked at the kinds of articles. And frankly, there were articles about everything, sex, your career, how to have the best friend, what to do in your relationship, how to get a good divorce. I mean, everything you can imagine. But we only found, out of 839 articles, one article that had anything to do with money and personal finance. One article. So the media plays a role, and they need to change it. They need to help change the conversation. The great news is that people are living longer and better than ever before, and it's really been something that since the beginning of time, people have really wanted to do, to add years to their life, and we're doing it. And we're doing it pretty successfully. But there are some challenges along the way, particularly with regard to finances. And I would say there's pretty much 4 tips I would suggest to everyone. And by the way, this is particularly true for women who live on average 5 years longer than men. So my first tip is expect to live 100 years. I mean, you may not, but with average life expectancy all the way up to 79 and 81 for women, there's a good shot that you're going to live a very long life, and you need to plan for it financially. Second, if you are a woman, Expect to be financially independent at least at one point during your life, because 95% of women are. So this means you need to really understand about your finances and you need to plan for them. And third, when it comes to planning, start early. The earlier you start, the better off you are. And if you can, make it automatic. I mean, if you were part of a 401k program at work, just make it automatic so you don't have to think about it. And then you can take advantage of that magic of compounding, which truly is miraculous. And last, get educated. Learn about finances so that you can feel in control of your finances. When it comes to women, by the way, if they don't have the knowledge and they don't have the confidence, chances are they won't be investing. So I urge everyone, but particularly women, get educated. Retirement wildcards have become part of the retirement planning process, and they come in many forms. I mean, they can be health. For instance, if you look at the health issue, most people want to work during retirement, but if there were to be one reason why they stop working early, it's because of their health. So that's an example of a retirement wildcard. But overall, what I would say about retirement wildcards is, if you are thinking about retirement and you're planning for it, expect the unexpected.